Okay, I think I'm live. It says I'm live in your group. Well, it says I'm live in your group. I've not quite done it this way before. I've just done it from my own page. So it says up in the left that I'm live in your Christian Widows and Widower Support Group Nigeria closed group for 57 seconds so far. So I see myself, so I guess the camera's working. Yeah, we should have practiced this part yesterday because I'm not sure what I'm doing. So it says there's 2 people watching. Somebody's watching. I wonder who. It says there are 2 people watching. Oh, there you are. Yay. Hi. Again, since we met yesterday. Okay, great. So, do you want to start with the questions? Oh, good. Can you see? Oh, you can see me and hear me. Yay. Hi. I'm Christine Baumgartner. I live in Southern California in the United States. I've been a dating and relationship coach for over 11 years. And what I tell people is that I perfected how to date the wrong men for me to marry. And then I decided I didn't care then because I wasn't interested in getting married. But then I decided I wanted to get married and I needed to figure out how to attract men I'd want to marry. So I came up with a process and it worked. It's how I met my late husband. So I am also a widow like you. I've been widowed for 7.5 years. And I am here to help you by answering your questions. Apparently, you all have questions. So I think they're going to show up in this chat box. So if you put up a question, I'm happy to talk. I have lots of things I talk about after 11 years of coaching men and women, but I want to thank you. Nice to see you too. I am going to never be able to pronounce any of your beautiful names, so I'll just keep saying thank you for saying hello. And I want to make sure that I'm going to use this time well so that I answer the questions that you have. You know, we all have really different questions about, there's some similar questions, but about dating and how to pick the right man and how to know if he's the right man and how to pace getting to know each other, what questions to ask. If you're going to get physical, when would that happen? How do you pace that? So let's see. So if you all want to show me your questions, I would be very happy to answer them. Because I thought that was what was going to happen. So I am super happy to help. Oh, I can see you on my phone. It's so much better than the computer. Okay. So now there are 6 people watching. Hi, so happy to talk to all of you. So Beatrice, would you like me to answer questions or just talk with some advice? Let me know what would be best, because you know your community so much better than I do. And I really want to be of service. So, what do you think? Oh, 8, 9 months. Oh, yeah. What I know from my personal experience of being a widow and talking to lots of widows over this 7-year period, because before that I coached divorced people because I didn't know what it was like to be a widow, and it is so different, and you don't understand it until it happens to you. It is awful, just awful. And what I know for me for that first year, I was in a fog, such a fog. I couldn't, for me, his mind was sudden. I found him on the floor when I got up in the morning. He had died suddenly. So for that first year, I couldn't hear his voice in my head. I couldn't see him. It was very strange. Even though I had lots of pictures in the house, I couldn't visualize things that we had done together, things that he had said to me. And I was okay with it. I think I just said so many other things I was thinking about, trying to function. And then I found, after the 1 year, we call them angel anniversaries, the anniversary of his death, I started seeing little teeny bits, and the pain was overwhelming, just so hard. When I could now see a little bit of, I could see his shoulder. He had been in a motorcycle accident before I met him, and there's a great big scar, and that's where I used to put my head. So I could see that just like this much in my head now. And it was so painful. Just thought I'd already heard a lot, and it was almost worse because I think the fog started lifting after that first year. But each of those anniversaries, my birthday, his birthday, our wedding anniversary, Valentine's Day, special days that we'd experienced together were really hard. So hard that first year. And they're hard. They can be very hard in the next years. And I found actually the second year for me, certainly the 18 months, I have a new cat and he sheds a lot. That second year, because now the fog started lifting, the pain was even more harsh. The edges were so sharp around that pain. And what I can say is, with each passing year, there certainly are days, his birthday, our wedding anniversary, and the day of his death are still hard. Even after 7.5 years, they're still hard. I don't get as emotional the weeks coming up, but I certainly do the day before, because I think about what happened the day before on each of those and the day of. And then I think more happy things now. The scale has tipped. Before it was only sad things. I couldn't even think of happy things. And then I started thinking of more happy things and less happy things. So it gets less hard. That's the thing I could say. Definitely less hard. So dating on that subject, oh, that first year. I mean, I've known people that have dated that first year, and even a tiny percentage that have met people that were good for them and they had a good experience. And I would say the majority of people I know, it was good for them to wait, to heal a little, to have those sharp edges be not so sharp, to have the hard grief, whether it was a long illness or a short illness, or something that caused a sudden death, health, accident, suicide. They're all hard. It's all hard. You had a future planned. You thought you were going to spend a long time with this person, longer than you got. And it's really a huge adjustment to be on your own again and to think about, what am I going to do next? And how can I do it? And who am I now that I'm not a wife anymore? And I used to have a partner to help do part of the stuff. And now I have to do this all by myself, especially if you have little children. It's a lot. So I think it's helpful for people to wait a year, year and a half, even 2 maybe, just to kind of get your feet back underneath you. I don't make any judgments about anybody. You can date as fast or slow or never. I'm just here to give my opinions, what I've seen from the hundreds of people I've talked to, and to help each person I talk to sort through what's going to work best for them. Sometimes we just need somebody to bounce it off of. We need somebody to listen, just really hear how you're feeling, what's really going on, and then maybe offer some insight. Often we know a lot of the answers inside of ourselves. We just don't know we know it, because it's helpful if somebody could ask us some insightful, helpful questions. So I hope that's helpful. Hope it's what you're asking for. I'd love to know what you really want. Please put questions up if you have something really specific that you want me to talk about. Okay, I'll talk about how I came up with my process that led me to meet my late husband. What I found for me, and what I find often when I'm talking to men, some, but mostly women, about what do you really want in a relationship? What do you really want? So often we say, oh, I want somebody that's good. Well, what does that mean to you? We think everybody has the same definition, and I got to tell you, that is not the truth. Some people, good means he's a good provider. Some mean good that he is a good listener. Some mean good that he's good with children. So what I found for me, and what I teach my clients, is to write out a definition as if you're the dictionary. So what does good, a good man, mean to you? Create some sentences so that when you meet a man, you can see, does he fit those things you've written out? Because we think we're just going to know, and that isn't always so. The other thing is to think about it in traits. So the traits I think about are mental, emotional, physical. So mental, how they think. Do you like how they think? What would you like them to think about? Do you care about the news? Do you care about politics? Do you care about the environment? What you care about, you need to write down and see, are they a match for you? Now, you don't have to be exactly alike, but it's helpful if you have some similar interests in a bunch of areas. So emotionally, how do they make you feel when you're with them? Do they make you feel comfortable? Do they make you feel safe? Do they make you feel that you're important? Do they make you feel that your feelings, that they care about them? Physically. And there's a reason I make that third. I'm doing that really on purpose because, yes, we do need to like how they look. I don't want anybody to go out with someone that they find repulsive or they have a trait that you just really don't like. It's funny how we women are. Some women like men that are bald, and some women like men with lots of hair, and some women like men that are taller and shorter. But I put it third, and you write down all the things you want, but I put it third because what often happens to us women is we get kind of carried away with the physical part, and we aren't really paying attention to that mental and emotional part. See, those are so important, that if we get all caught up in, oh my gosh, look at those eyes and his voice, and we don't always pay as much attention to what do we think about how he thinks, and how does he make us feel, and how does he feel in the world? How does he feel about the world? What does he say about the world? So write down the physical attributes that you like. And then I'm going to tell you honestly, I was married at young for 13 years, and then I got divorced, and then I was single for a really long time before I met my late husband. And I dated a lot. It was so fun. I'd never been single. I met my first husband when I was really young and hadn't really dated. So I was in my 30s and had a great time dating. And I had a type, usually over 6 feet, brown hair, brown eyes, wore a business suit. That was really important to me. It was like a uniform. And I met really nice men. I dated nice men, but no one that I would ever have married, because I just kept having a lot of feelings about their looks. We all have that in us to do. So then I was using online dating, and my late husband wrote to me, and I liked what he said. And he looked okay, but he didn't look anything like my type. My husband was barely 5'10", mostly bald with gray hair, had a little bit of a tummy, blue eyes. I liked from the first time I went out to lunch with him how I felt with him. I liked how he thought. I liked what he thought about. I liked how important the people in his life were to him. One of the things that was on my list was I wanted somebody who had a lot of longtime friends, because that was important to me, because I had a lot of longtime friends. Well, I have to tell you, my husband called over 300 people every year to sing happy birthday to them. He had me beat hands down with longtime friends. So I liked all of that about him. And I thought I liked how he looked. I wasn't all chemical about him. I wasn't all woo about him. But I did look forward to seeing him every time, and I missed him when I didn't see him. But it took me months to finally get all woo about him. Well, then he did become my type, and it was wonderful. So that's why I put physical third. And then always the fourth thing is spiritual. Since this is a Christian group, I'm imagining that God is a very important part of your life, that some sort of a regular religious practice is part of your life. So you need to write down all the ways that religion is important to you and what you need your partner to do or say to show you that he also has the traits that are important to you. So you write down the words that create the trait, and then you make them into sentences. So you saw I had a sentence. I wanted a man who had friends. And then I wrote out, I want him to have a lot of longtime friends. By writing it out, he showed up. So the same thing with all of these mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual traits. Then the second thing to do is to write down the things you don't want, you cannot have. They are deal breakers to you. So one of them for me is smoking cigarettes, because it actually makes me feel physically ill. I cannot even be around cigarette smoke. I actually like pipes and cigars. So amazing. Like the smell. So I also can't be around somebody who's mean to other people, like just to be mean or inconsiderate or rude, because I'm a really polite person and I want somebody who's also polite. So if you write these down, people say, well, why would I write them down? Because now I'm writing down what I don't want, and is that going to come? No, not at all. It makes you pay attention if you see those beautiful brown eyes, oh, but by the way, he was really rude to that service person or that person that we just walked by. Well, I don't care how beautiful his brown eyes are. If he's rude, you now have on your list, no, he's not a match for me. Then the third thing I would ask you to do is to write down what you bring to a relationship. Why are you a catch? Now, sometimes women have a really hard time with this. They feel like they're going to brag about themselves and they've been told they shouldn't do that, that it's really impolite. Well, what keeps you only attracting men that would be good for you is if you know you're a catch. You need to know you're a catch. You need to tell them you're a catch. The only way you can do that is by reminding yourself. But because I know we have trouble doing that, one of the things I suggest to women is to find a good friend or a family member that loves you madly, has your best interest at heart, and wants you to be happy and thinks you're just wonderful. So ask them why they like being with you, why they like being your friend, and write down everything they say. Because sometimes you'll go, oh, no, that's not really true. And I'm not exactly like that. Well, if they're your friend and they're saying it and they're honest, then please write it down. And you may turn those into sentences. So I have a kind heart. Well, what do you do to demonstrate your kind heart? Or I'm funny. Well, then write down something that your friend thinks is funny. A quirky thing about your personality, a joke that you tell. Because what I've learned is when you're first getting to know a man, they want to know about you. They want to know who you are. A question that annoyed me a lot when I was single because I didn't understand, oh, these cat hairs. I didn't understand why a man would say, tell me about yourself, because I thought that sounded kind of lazy. And why didn't he just ask me questions? But he really was interested in knowing about me, and he didn't know the questions to ask because he didn't know me. So by doing this list, you have stuff to talk about. So for me, one of the things I talk about is I love horses. I am a horse gal. From the first time I met one when I was young, I said, oh my God, I love this animal. So I've never had one of my own, but I seem to meet people that have their own. I have a friend who has 3 horses that live on her property, and I get to go riding every week for the last 10 years. Lucky me. And a year and a half ago, I found a place near me that's a equine therapy ranch. So what it is it's therapy for children and young adults who have special needs, either physical disabilities or mental, emotional. And we have specially trained horses, and then we're specially trained people to help these children overcome some of their disabilities on horseback. It is so rewarding. I cannot believe how much fun it is for me because I get to hang around horses and fun little kids, and they're amazing parents. So that's one of the things I have in my conversation when somebody says, tell me about yourself. I can talk about being a dating coach. I can talk about my family. I can talk about the places I've traveled, the places I want to still travel, things I like to cook. I am a recipe person. My husband was the kind that could just clean out the refrigerator and turn it into a 3-course meal. And I'm like, I can't do that. I need a recipe. So that's how you get to know somebody, is you tell them about you, and then they tell you about them. So you have these lists, and I don't know, I'd love to know, do you do online dating? I don't know. I didn't think to ask Beatrice that. So if you do, I can tell you how to write profiles and do pictures and all of that, but I don't want to take time to do that if that's not what you do. But I will talk about when you have a conversation for the first time with a man, because this seems to trip both men and women up. I've written so many articles about this because I don't know. I'd love to know how many of you have tried dating and what you thought about it. And what often happens is the men and women leave the date frustrated, disappointed. And what the woman is saying in her head when she's frustrated and disappointed is, he didn't ask me anything about myself. All he did was talk about himself. And the man's frustrated because he says, I didn't learn anything about her. All she did was interview me. I felt like I was on a job interview. Now, how could that be a successful date if both people leave feeling that way? Not. So one of the things I like explaining to men and women is how differently we communicate, and we communicate for really different reasons. I'm hoping this is helpful. I'd love some feedback. You could all tell me if you're liking this, if it's boring, or you want something different. Okay, I'll just keep talking. So generally, men, and I don't know if there's any men, because I don't know male and female names with your beautiful names that you have. So generally, men talk for 3 reasons. They talk to share information. Did you see it on the news? Did you see the price of whatever went up? Or the second reason is they want to tell us about an accomplishment. They had a good crop. They completed a project. They built something. They fixed something. And they're looking for us to go, good job. Wow, you really did a good job with that. And the third reason they talk is if they have a problem and they've really tried on their own to figure it out and they haven't come up with a solution, they will seek out an expert and ask them. And what they expect is the minute they've expressed their problem, they want that person, that expert, to tell them the solution. That's it. That's all they want them to say. For women, generally, it's always general. There's always exceptions, but I have done this long enough to know this is a big general. Lots of men and women act this way. Generally, women, we talk to get our feelings out. We talk when we're happy. We talk when we're sad. We talk when we're mad. We really do. We just get full up of all these emotions. And the best way for us to get them out is to talk about them, to emote. That's what it means to emote. It's coming out of our body through our mouth. And we generally can feel better after we've talked. Another reason we talk is we want to see how the other person's reaction is to us, to what we're saying. Do they seem to be interested? Do they seem to like it? Do they seem to not like it? That's really important to us. And then we also talk to see how we feel about them. So how are my words bouncing off of them? How are my words coming back to me? What kind of feedback am I getting? So if you see that we're talking because we want to get out our emotions and men are talking because they just want to impart information, men don't know we want them to ask us a question. They just don't know. The ones I teach do, but generally men don't know that. So let's pretend this is a first date and most women say, I said, what's the most important thing you think you need to find out on this first date? And they go, well, if he likes me. So I'm telling you, you already know that. If he's asked you out, he's sitting across the table from you, trust me, he likes you. Men do not spend their time, energy, and money unless they're interested. They just won't. Now they know that we will spend a lot of energy to see if we like somebody. So you think about when you gonna go shopping for something, you sometimes have to look at a whole bunch of things. Men just often pick something out and they're done. Where we want to look at the different textures, look at the different colors, look at the different sizes. They just buy. They see it, they buy it. So they're sitting there going, okay, I like her. I need to know a little bit about her, but I know she doesn't like me yet. She doesn't know. So I have to tell her all about me. So that's why they tell you all about them. They think they need to prove themselves to you. They think they need to show you that they're valuable, helpful people. And because we are interested in learning about them, and we'd really like them to be interested in learning about us, we keep asking them questions, like a job interview. You can see why they feel like that. So it's okay to ask them questions. I'm not saying don't do it, but what's really important is, so you want to find out what their religious beliefs are, or their preference. So you say to them, gosh, I read this passage in the Bible and it really spoke to me. And this is why it spoke to me. And what do you think about that? And then listen, see what he says. See if you like what he says, or that you heard somebody preach and that what they said moved you, and this is why. What do they think about that? Or do they attend some sort of a religious something regularly? And what do they think of the person that preaches there? So what you're doing is you're asking him a question about himself because you want to know. And then you're telling him about you without waiting for him to ask, because he doesn't know to ask. I teach men. So if there are any men that watch this, what I tell men is, if she asks you a question, answer it, and then turn right around and ask her the very same question, because she's waiting for you to ask her that very same question. I bet all you women are nodding. Yep, that's what you want. That's what we want. It makes us feel cared about. It makes us feel they're interested. So important. So now you can see how you could create these questions from these lists. If you've made the list of what you have to have and can't have and who you are, then you think about, well, these are the things I want to find out about him. And these are the things I want to tell him about me to see, do I want to go out with him a second time? Do I want to see him a second time? Is there more that I want to learn about him? Is there more that I think is interesting about him? Do I think I could learn more if I had a conversation with him? Learn about me. That's what I found. I learned so much about me on my dates. Learn about him specifically, and then learn how to get comfortable talking to men. It's really important to get comfortable talking to men. So often we want to wait and only talk to the one, back to the chemistry we're all so woo about. And then we're tongue-tied. We don't know what to say, and we say the wrong thing, and we're just all a mess. Where if you go out with a few men, especially the ones that don't make you feel all chemical, but they're good guys, they're pleasant guys, you have a chance to practice talking to men. And I suggest women talk to men everywhere. I don't know enough about your culture, if that's okay. So sorry. I can only talk from my experience on this side of the world. That, when I'm out, I say hello. If they're doing something, I ask them about it. Well, gosh, what made you buy that car? Or at the grocery store, what are you going to make with that whatever? Because it just gives you a chance to get more comfortable talking to men. And especially if you were with your husband for a while before he died, you're really good at talking to him. You had this really smooth communication. So often we all say, oh my God, we could just read each other's minds. And you have to practice talking to new men to remind yourself, oh, I can't have that right away. I have to nurture that. I love the flower. I'm going to use that as an analogy, where you plant, a seed, and you have to nurture it. You have to water, you have to fertilize, you have to dig out the weeds. That's what you're doing with learning how to date. It's a nurturing thing for yourself. And be very patient. So often I hear both men and women say, I really want to be in a relationship again, and I don't want to date. Well, I know you really want to have beautiful roses or wonderful crops. You have to plant, you have to water, you have to weed, you have to fertilize, you have to cultivate. Same with dating. It is just a part of the process. And if you do it this way, making a list, being really clear about what you want and need, learning to talk in a casual way to men and women, you will ultimately end up with the crop of love again. I keep trying to see if there's any questions. I want to be sure if there's any questions. So Beatrice, could you just ask me a question so I could see that it's working and there might be one if I'm like missing them? Here's one. Okay. Sorry, I can't see it unless I go over here. I found out my hubby was cheating after he died. How can I trust? Oh, yes, the betrayal. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's horrible. It's horrible on top of horrible. To lose him first and then to find out the betrayal. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Trusting. Okay. I'm going to talk about that because in all sorts of ways, we have to learn to trust, to date for sure. I'd love to ask you more questions, but I'll just give you some thoughts. Usually, we might have known a little something. I'm not saying we can't be totally surprised about somebody cheating, but most of the time, when we look back, there might have been a little, we didn't want to look at it. It wasn't really big. We didn't want to believe it. We didn't want to be alone. We didn't want to go through a divorce. We have little kids. But most of the time, there's something, little something. So since I can't ask you if that happened for you, I will tell you my solution for that. We women are blessed, truly blessed with amazing instincts and intuition. Don't you just haven't had something that you just knew was going to happen, or you knew it was the right thing and it turned out to be the right thing? You know, a great friend or a new job or something amazing. You just knew, you knew somewhere in you. Mine is my solar plexus. I just know. I get this sensation when I just know, I know. And my head can chatter about, oh, you're so wrong. And oh, that's not the truth. But if I really listen, I know. So for your next step of dating, to learn to know who to trust and who not to trust, find that place in your body, not necessarily about your late husband, but something that you've known in your life, one or two things you've known in your life that you just knew you knew. And where did you know it? I've had people tell me it's in their throat, in their head, in their heart, in their stomach. There's a place in your body that tells you this is right or this is wrong, just as strong, that same place. And as you're meeting new men, pay 100% attention to that, because what I know is we think we can't trust our instincts and our intuition because look what happened. And what I've learned is it's because we didn't listen. We didn't listen to when it was going, really, could you ask a couple more questions, or you really need to look at this, or you need to find out more about this. Not necessarily leave, even though that could be an option, but just look. Look at something that's doing, you're going, come on, pay attention. Please pay attention. You need to pay attention. And if you do that every time, every single time, no matter how cute they are, no matter how lonely you are, we're going to talk about that in a second. No matter what, and sometimes it's really hard to no matter what, which is why it's really good to have one of those bestie friends, because you can go, I'm kind of wondering about this, but I want to ignore it. I don't really want to pay attention to it. What do you think? They're going to help you talk it through about where is it in your body and what's it really saying, and maybe you really do need to check it out a little more. So I'm hoping that's helpful about the trust part, because I know as clearly as I'm sitting here, if you 100% pay attention to your instincts and your intuition, 98% of the time you will not get your heart broken. You won't. You'll just know. And I'm so sorry about the 2%. There it is. Some of them are good at faking, good at lying. Sorry, I can't make it 100%. One of the other challenges, the loneliness part, is loneliness in the world is an epidemic. They've done studies about it. People are lonely, period. And then when you're a widow, I mean, there's all sorts of sad things that happen. Your family could pull back. Their family, the spouse's family, could pull back for such interesting reasons. They don't want to watch you grieve. You're grieving too much. Why aren't you over them? Oh, now you're thinking about dating. That means you didn't love them. You can't be around me and my spouse because I think you're going to want to go flirt with them. I mean, the reasons are so absurd from our side. I mean, we're like, yeah, no, that is the last thing in my mind, but okay, sorry, you have such an insecure marriage. So it's even more lonely. We're used to having a person around that understands us and loves us and was watching our back, and now they're gone. I used to say, the person I want to talk to about this awful thing that happened is my husband. I want to tell him how awful it was that he died. It was just horrible. So you can't date from loneliness. You cannot. You will pick so badly. So badly. So some of the ways to not be lonely are make friends. If your old friends left, it's sad and crushing and horrible, and I'm so sorry. You have to make new friends. I'm so glad that you have this group. I'm in a couple widows group, and I value them beyond measure. I'm a friend kind of person. I mentioned that because I wanted a husband that had friends. But it's even better when you're with a group of people who go, oh, I get it. I get you have hard days. I get that we have, I don't know if you guys do, but we have some dark humor. You know, we'll have widow humor, we call. And other people look at us like we're nuts. We have dinner, not right now, but before, a couple times a month. And the people at the restaurant would say, so how do you know, the servers, how do you know each other? We're all widows. And they're like, but you're laughing. Well, we didn't cry all the time. We certainly had tender moments. Things would come up, or somebody brand new, fresh, their spouse had just died months ago, and they tell us the story and they'd cry, but lots of laughter. So wonderful. Oh, thank you. Whatever I said that made you say, wow. Tell me what I said that made you say, wow. It'll make me happy. That you need friends. Friends. You have to find friends. You have to get out. You have to get out and make friends. I don't know if you all are in quarantine, but we're doing this. I'm in a couple meetup groups and we do this. We talk to each other over the computer. There's 10 people on there all at once. I can see everybody's faces and we can talk to each other. And how are you doing with this? And what kind of things are you doing to keep yourself busy and sane? And then find things to do that make you feel productive. We need a purpose. Everybody needs a purpose. Whether it's a craft or a calling, like my volunteer thing I do. It is a saving grace for me, even though we don't have children that come right now. You probably have horses. They need to be fed and cared for twice a day, every day, 365 days a year. And they are grateful to have volunteers. So I go 3 days a week still, even though there's no kids there. And it's outdoors, it's exercise. I'm hanging out with these big, beautiful beasts that I adore. So find something that gives you purpose. If you have a volunteer opportunity or just something that makes you get up that day, get up and do something because you know it's making a difference for somebody else. Physical, emotional, spiritual, mental traits. Yes. Good. I'm glad to hear that God is an important part of your life. So you would want a man who God is important to him too, right? I would think that would be really important. So writing out, how is God important to you? How does God make you feel, make your life better? Praying, reading, going to church. How does it help you in your life? Clearly write that out so that you can now tell the man that you're sitting with or talking on the phone right now here, how God is important to you and what it gives you in your life, how he makes you happy, how he makes you feel grounded, how he makes your life better. And then ask him, is God a big part of your life? Is it something that you make a point of being a part of? Because if God's a really important part of your life, it might be a challenge to have a man who isn't. God isn't part of his life, isn't an important part. So I'm not sure if I did say you don't have to have every trait in common, of course, but you need to figure out the ones that you have to have. Because there's some you just would like. I was trying to think of the things. So my husband, so he told me we'd been out maybe 4 or 5 times. And he explained to me how he and his grown son loved practical jokes. Do you know what practical jokes are? Yes, and what you bring. Oh, thank you, Beatrice, for writing it all down. So practical jokes. And he told me some of the ones they'd done, and he laughed. My husband had the best laugh, and he laughed when he was telling me about it. So I listened, and I said, wow, I can see that that's a real big connection for the two of you, and you really like it. And I have to tell you, I don't like practical jokes. I don't think they're funny. If anyone does one for me, I'm going to get my feelings hurt because I'm just really sensitive. It's just who I am. It's on my list of who I am because my list is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual as well. I'm not sure if I told you that. You make out the same list for you. So I told him that. And I said, so I'm okay with you telling me about the practical jokes that you and your son do. A kind heart. Yes, that's a lovely thing. So write out a little bit more about that. Like you started this group. Oh my gosh, that is very much a kind-hearted thing to do. And you support these people that are part of your group. Write that out. Make it a whole sentence. Turn it into a paragraph if you want. So I'm going to go back to my husband. So I explained to him, I'm fine hearing, but never, ever, ever do one to me. You just can't do it. It would be really hard on me. So he never did. And he told everybody around us, don't ever do a practical joke to Christine because she'll cry. So there was something that was a trait that he had that I couldn't be part of, but it talked about it and worked it out. And it was a perfect compromise and it wasn't a problem. But you don't know till you ask. And then you have to say what's important to you. That's another thing that women do, especially if we think, oh, they're so cute, is they like fishing and we don't. We'll say we like fishing. Now, I was with a guy at one point who liked fishing. And I said, I like the outdoors and I can come, but I'm just going to sit and read. What happens when a fish comes for me is it's interrupting my reading. So I'm happy to keep you company and I'm happy to sit outside, but I'm not interested in fishing. And he was fine with that. But I'm not going to say I like fishing if I don't like fishing. But we're tempted to do that. You can see that's why it's really important to write down who we really are, because I am not a fisher person, even though I know plenty of women that are, not me. Okay, I need more questions. Come on. I know you have questions. You could say I like answering questions, and I'll give you a really long answer. That's something you can always count on with me. Boy, I'll give you long answers. I can give you short answers too, but I like long. My husband would say, okay, Christine, I can have the long story today, And then the next day he'd say, now I need a new short story. And I go, okay. As much as I like long stories, when he'd say he was in the mood for a short story, I tell him a short story about how my day was or something that happened with somebody. But he was very patient to listen to my long stories too. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that this is good. I'm glad I'm giving you what you want. It is what I'm talking about is universal for women that are dating and men that are dating, really universal. It's the most common things people talk about that are hard and frustrating, and they wish they knew. It's like a manual, which I'm working on writing, that anything you know how to do, you know how to make something, you know how to raise children, you know how to do your job. You had to learn how to do it. And for some reason, we just think we're going to know how to date. Well, we don't. I'm here to tell you, I didn't. Most people don't. They just go out and get their hearts broken and date the people that are wrong for them. Even if they're nice people, if they're not wrong for you or they're not right for you, how would you know ahead of time? But now you could know ahead of time because you have this list. And what you're doing, those questions that I talked about, I call them I'm curious questions. Excuse me, that you're going to be curious. You're not interviewing. So remember how I've used that a lot in my examples. So this is how I feel about religion. I'm curious how you feel about religion because you're listening to learn, not listening to respond, not listening to disapprove or even approve. You're listening to learn. What are they going to say? And what do you think about it? What do you think about it? Most of the time, the things that people talk about, if you do it this way, you just feel like you've gathered a lot of information. And then you say, I think I want to learn more about this person. I'm not sure what I want to do next with them. I think I need to learn more. Doesn't that sound like a much better way to date? What I tell people is that dating should be fun. That's what I discovered. It became much more fun when I started doing it this way. It shouldn't feel like a job. It shouldn't feel like work. You do have to set aside time. People don't always know how much time dating can take, and it really can. I mean, think about these lists that you're going to make and create the I'm curious questions, and then you're going to have conversations with a couple of different people and decide if you're going to meet, even meet virtually if you're in quarantine, and then decide if you're going to want to spend time with them again. All that takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. So blocking out time like you do to care for your children, to do your job, to physically take care of yourself. You block out time for all of that. You need to block out some time for dating. It's up here. Oh, sorry. Not a question for me, a question that somebody else can do. I'm so glad you guys are doing that because I don't know how to. It's hard to talk and type at the same time. I can read, I can do that. I can talk and read, but. Oh, please answer my question. Sorry. Oh, I missed it. Ask it again, please. Oh, I missed. How do you know if a man wants you for real? That's a really good question. I like your questions. Okay. Oh, this is so good. You can tell I really like my job. You put up little boundaries. So let's say your first meeting and he's texting. Do you guys text? I guess you text. I'm sorry, I don't know. He's texting and you're tired of texting. You want him to call. You want to hear his voice. You want to have a conversation over the phone rather than just texting. So you say nicely, how I've really enjoyed chatting with you and getting to know you, and I'd like to hear your voice and talk to you on the phone. So you've now nicely said what you like and what you'd like in addition. And then you wait and see what he says. If he's a good guy, which is the very first thing they have to be, and he's interested in getting to know you, and the way to get to know us is to make us happy, he'll say, okay. Okay. You want to talk on the phone? Maybe not his favorite thing, but he wants to make you happy because he wants to get to know you. He'll say, okay. So you put up little tests. Let's say the guy was texting you a whole bunch. Oh my God, he was texting you 10 times a day. And you're like, I'm kind of over that. I think he might be nice, but I can't do 10 texts a day. So you say, gosh, I really like hearing from you. It would make me happy if you would text me 3 times a day, and only 3 times because my day's kind of busy. And then you wait and see. I'm going to say it again. If he's a good guy and he wants to make you happy, because we only want a good guy that wants to make us happy, he'll say, okay. Even if he still wants to text you 10 times a day, he will text you 3 times a day. This is how you know if he really likes you. Now, I think part of your question is, so that's the, if he was a real person, but if he wants you for real, he will listen to your wishes and do them. Because imagine he doesn't, just this minor thing of, I want to talk to you on the phone, or I want you to only text me 3 times a day, and he pushes back and says, oh, you're being too sensitive, or, oh my gosh, this is what I don't, I really want to do this. Think what it's going to be like later if he, if you have a big boundary. He's not going to listen. He's not going to care. So if he's really interested, then he will say, okay. Now he could a compromise, and a compromise is okay. Like my practical jokes with my husband, I didn't tell him never to do them. I also didn't tell him never to tell me. I just said never do them to me. So that was my boundary, and he listened because he cares. He was a really good guy, and he cared about my feelings. How do you know? Yes, it's so important to get comfortable talking to men. I practice at the grocery store, the dry cleaners, the gas station. There's a guy standing there at the gas station, and I say, what made you buy that car? I'm practicing. I'm not asking him out. I don't expect him to ask me out. He could be married. I'm practicing getting comfortable talking to men. You'll be amazed at how much easier it gets if you practice a lot. Had smooth conversation with my late husband. Well, see, so now you know you can do that. And often we forget that it might not have been exactly that way in the beginning. Sometimes, yeah, right away, click, chemistry, wonderful. It's not very often. Usually it's a learned behavior for both of you, and we forget. We think, well, I want that right now. Well, you didn't have it right now in 2 dates with your late husband. So a little bit of grace that you're like, okay, I'm going to give it some time. I'm going to give me some time. I'm going to get them some time. There's a question in the comment. Betrayal is horrible. Yes, it is. It's horrible, which is why it is imperative to listen to your instincts. Imperative. So I'm going to talk about the physical side. We've got all that chemistry. We want to get physical right away, and we just can't. We just can't. It is so hard on women. Now, generally, I told you men do not spend their time, energy, and money taking us out if they don't like us. They're not interested in us. They think that we're somebody they might want to get to know better. And probably they find us sexually attractive. Probably. I always knew that every guy that sat across the table from me wanted to have sex with me, but is that okay to say with your Christian group? Sorry, it's just how I talk. I was raised by a mom like that. And I thought it was fine because, yes, they're the gas pedal and I'm the brake. So they weren't going to get physical with me if I wasn't ready. And they had to do a bunch of things. I had to have these conversations with them. I had to give them a couple of tests, like these boundary things, before they were ever going to get physical with me, ever. And if they pressured me, they were gone. They need to go at my pace. They need to do what's important to me. I am the prize. We need to remember that. I tell people, put up a sign on the mirror in your bathroom so that every time you're looking in that mirror, you see the words that say, I am a prize. You are a prize. He has to prove worthy of your attention, worthy of your body. Worthy. That is a big word that women often don't know, often don't appreciate about themselves. And good guys know that. They know that. I mean, I'll tell you, it's only a couple of us here, right, to talk. I made my husband wait a while. I did. I was nice about it. Yep, I think I'd be interested in that. I just need to get to know you better. Here's some more things I need to know about if I'm going to be doing that. He was okay. A little frustrated. He could live with that. He was a grown guy. But I made him wait because I wanted to see, was he what I'd hoped? I wanted a man that would woo me. I wanted a man that knew I was worthy. And he treated me like a queen. It was wonderful. I want to show him, but he's gone. And I'm like, oh, I get the mad. Oh my gosh. Yes. How do you know if a man's right? And not selfish? So, oh, you guys are so good. You're actually sending me questions now. Mad. So normal. So normal. Whether it was partly their doing, they didn't take care of their health, or they committed suicide, or it was totally out of their control, we're still mad they're dead. It's really normal. Do not ever give yourself a hard time about being mad. It's not disloyal. It's not dishonest. It's not unloving. Remember, we have all these emotions and they're just filling us up and we have to talk about it. So I hope you do talk about that in your group. One of the things I think helps if you're at least a year or two out is I set a timer. I have my clients set timers. I did it for me too. And I would just be so mad for 10 minutes. I'd scream, I'd curse, I'd call him names, I'd hit a pillow, I'd rant to my friends for 10 minutes. This is horrible. I can't believe it. I can't believe he's dead. I can't believe he's not here. And I'm having to do all this myself. And it's just so hard. Yes, the loneliness does suck. It does. It sucks. It sucks a lot. And we'll be lonely for a relationship until we're in a relationship, but it can't take over our whole lives. We have to fill up. It's like your fingers. So here's the relationship part. It'll get filled someday, but we have to fill ourselves up with family and friends and activities, a purpose. That's what makes our whole hand. Otherwise, if these are all empty, then we're even more needy, and we'll take anybody that shows up with male parts. See, I can do that. We can't do that. We can't settle for just anybody. That's why it's really important to keep working on filling up the other parts of you so that all of you is not lonely. Yes, you're lonely for a relationship, but you have to fill up the other parts too. Don't chase just because you're lonely. Thank you. Make friends. Yes. It's in our control. We all have control over that. Whether it's in-person friends, over the internet friends, the Facebook groups, and you might never meet anybody, but you can have these wonderful, heartfelt conversations with them. Oh, so I'm going to go back to the 10 minutes. So now you scream and yell and carry on for 10 minutes and the timer goes off, and your goal, you have to have a goal, is you're going to feel, even if it's only this much better, you have to have a goal. So that was what I would do. I would make a goal that when I got done screaming and yelling for 10 minutes, I was going to feel this much better. Now, I might need to scream and yell 4 times a day, but once I got done screaming and yelling and I set that goal to feel better, then I need to go do something else. Something physical is really helpful. Take a walk, do some exercise, clean the floor. That day I cleaned the kitchen floor because I was feeling frustrated. Is it advisable that one should marry again? Because some of my friends tell me don't marry again, but then I wish to marry again. Well, deciding to marry again, even deciding to date again, is our personal decision. I'm amazed, truly amazed. I think I can't be this amazed, but I really am. How many people think they get to have opinions about our life? Especially non-widowed people who don't understand. I didn't understand. I'm a pretty empathetic person. My mom died, and I went, wow, that's really hard. And then a little over a year later, my husband died, and I was like, well, that's really hard. And now I really get what people feel like whose moms died, and I get what people feel like when their husbands died. Wow. I never could have understood it as empathetic as I am. So to know how you feel is all up to you. I recommend not talking a lot to people you've now learned maybe don't understand or have your best interest at heart through no other reason is just they've not experienced it. We wouldn't wish this on anybody. This is a club nobody wants to join, the Widow Club. Ugh. So we don't wish that they understand. We do wish they understood, but we don't wish that they had the reason to understand. So you need to know for you if you really want to get married again. I do. It's not mandatory. I mean, I really want to be in another relationship because I really like it. Marrying is not mandatory for me. I'd be fine with just being together because lots of financial reasons for that. But what I say is don't send them a ballot. Don't let them vote about your life because they don't really know. They don't really understand. They don't. As much as you want to share your feelings, be careful who they're with. Be careful that they're with people who really do understand the path you're walking. And generally, back to my general, people that aren't widowed don't understand. There's a few, but not very many. I think it's your decision. Yes. No one can live it for you. Yes. 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 It is really up to you. Back to the instincts, you will know. You will know if it's right for you. You will know if it's the right person. Yeah. And certainly you can run it by your trusted friends that have walked your walk. But sadly, the general population of non-widowed people, they don't get us. They don't. They say really unfeeling, uncaring, inane things unintentionally. Oh, well, that's hard if the whole culture doesn't support it. Wow, that's really hard. So sorry to hear that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, to have the whole culture gets you. I don't know what to say about that. That is a little outside my pay grade about what to do about a whole culture. Because you go against a whole culture because you want to be in love again. Casey, I appreciate the part where God should be a factor. Yes. And I really, now you've made me so intrigued to go read more about your culture because you're so God centered, it sounds like. My God, the one that I learned about in my religion, wants everybody to be happy and feel fulfilled and make other people happy. So he wouldn't want me to be sitting around being sad all the time. He'd want me to fall in love again. So that's hard. Is it your religious culture that says that, or your the culture of your country? Because if it's not the religious culture, you might be able to use that as a little bit of a pushback of, well, God says we're supposed to be happy, and God says that we're all his children, and he wants his children to be happy. That would be my only suggestion, and I don't know if that's even relevant. I hope it's helpful. That's a hard place to be and to have all your culture against you. Wow. Oh, you're so welcome. I am not a fishy person. Oh, I don't know what a fishy person is. Okay, a perfect compromise, but I can't see the rest of the sentence. I also didn't know how long you wanted me to talk. But let's see. Oh, don't move the picture. Move this comment. Stay on this. Okay. Oh, there it is. Perfect compromise, but I think culture and tradition matter a lot in homes. The African culture and the tradition is still patriarchal. Yeah. So how can we have a balance? You gotta get the guys on board. Yep. So, do the men in your culture want to make the women happy? I don't know. That would be a really good thing to learn, huh? That would be so important to know. Yeah, boy. If they want to make you happy, then you tell them that being under the protection of a man and that it makes you feel safe. And when you feel safe, your house is happier, you're happier, the culture's happier, the community's happier. I mean, there's a reason that they say happy wife, happy life, because we've got all the power in the mood department. And so making us happy generally can be a really high priority to men. So telling them that it makes you unhappy to be alone and that you'd be so much happier if you were with someone who made you feel cared for and safe. Because most men understand the safety part for women. They have an instinct to protect and provide for us. Maybe they do here. I'm hoping they do there, because that's a good way to get into trying to think of really good ways that you could talk to them. The other part that works for men here is to find things to appreciate about them. So their belief, whatever their belief is, if it's a good belief, compliment them on it. Learn about it. Well, why do you believe that? I'm curious. Explain more to me about that. Explain to me, because I know you want the best for our society. I want to understand your thinking behind that it makes the best for our society. And maybe we could talk another time when you have more information, and I'll give you some thoughts about maybe things you could say, because I don't obviously know enough about anything about your culture at all. So I am shooting from the hip with this. I know how to do with men here really well. It's the only place I've ever lived and the only kind of men I've ever been exposed to. So sorry. Hope it's sort of helpful. Oh. There's another one, another question coming. Oh, you're welcome. You're so welcome. Oh, my pleasure. I hope it's helpful. Oh, question. How does one bring a balance when one finds every other thing about the man fits what one wants, but the children are a big bully? Oh, bully. I'm not sure what that exactly. So is it that you have little children and they don't want children, or you have grown children and the grown children are saying don't date because that means you don't love dad? It'd be easier to answer it if I understood the gully. What's the thing that's in the way about the kids? Because those are the things I've heard, that the woman has children, the man doesn't want any. The man has children, the woman doesn't want any. I married a man who had two kids, one grown and married, and the other one still living at home. I mean, a teenage girl, oh my. And then I've talked to lots of widowed people who have a huge issue with them dating. Huge issue. We don't want a new person in our life. It means you don't love mom or dad. You know, it's so disloyal. So I don't know. It's helpful to know the age of the kids that you're talking about and what the disagreement is. What's the gully? What's the stumbling block? If you could tell me that, or maybe I've answered them because those are my best guesses. But if I haven't answered it, tell me another option and I'll answer that. Balancing time. Yeah, you have to take time for yourself. You have to take time to build a relationship. And as a widowed person, that is prime factor time. You're having to do everything yourself. Everything. You used to have a partner to help with some of it. Now, none of it. And then you feel sad on top of it, and mad on top of it, and lonely on top of it. So, one of the things to consider is one thing every day that's a good thing for you. Take a bath, talk to a friend, make yourself something to eat that you love, put on something pretty, do something different to your hair. Just one thing, just one thing. It's like it helps recharge our batteries because we're so busy doing and giving that we get drained. It drains our battery. And then when do we have any time to date? Oh my gosh, none. So the thing we have to do is take care of ourselves. One of the things they say when you get on an airplane and they're giving all those instructions before they take off, and one of the big ones is that when the oxygen mask comes out down, you have to put it on yourself first before you put it on anybody else, even if you have a newborn baby. Because if you don't put it on yourself first, you're going to pass out and there's nobody left to take care of your newborn baby. You can't do for everybody all the time and sacrifice yourself. And that is one of the hardest things for women. Really hard for us to take care of ourselves. Really, really hard. So it's another thing to put up on your mirror. What could I do for myself today? Even if it only takes 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be hours, 5 minutes. Because it'll give you some energy back. You'll be better for your children, better for yourself, better for your families, for your community. If you give back to yourself. How does one bring balance when one finds so that was the same question I did. Okay, just want to make sure I'm answering the questions. So I hope that was helpful. It's a lot, right? It's like a bank. So many things to remember. So much advice, I know. So Beatrice, you're welcome to put up my website. I offer free conferences with people at the top of my website. my email address. You can send me emails with questions. I'm really happy to help, especially the widowed community. We need help. We're so vulnerable and so unprepared. Oh, should there be a difference between dating for a young woman who has never been married? Nope. No difference between a young woman that's never been married and a widow person. You can use all the same advice. Truly, make the lists, have I'm curious conversations, put up boundaries with the men that you're meeting, chat with men. Nope. Nope. I think one of the hardest things for women is we had often wonderful, and we wonder if we could have wonderful again. Yep, you can. I have a client who married for the third time in her 80s after being widowed twice. And when she first talked to me and she wanted to date again and marry again, I said, okay, and tell me what brings you to do this after two losses. I mean, she was married for high 20 years in both of them and loved them madly when they died. And she said, I still have love. I have love to give and I have love to get. And I want to be married again in her 80s. That was so inspiring. Yes, putting up little boundaries. You can do that with all the men in your life. It's really a good test to see how important they think you are. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot one important piece. So you put up the boundary and they do it. You say thank you every time. Big thank you. I would periodically, especially when my husband would tell me about some crazy practical joke he and his son did, I go, thank you for remembering. I hate it. I so appreciate you not doing that to me ever. And he'd say, well, of course, because I knew. But I would ignore that and keep saying thank you. I would never not say thank you. So when a guy starts texting 3 times a day instead of 10, you say, thank you for paying attention to me. Thank you for taking my feelings important. I mean, a big thank you. Big thank you. So I also coach people that are in relationships. And one of the things that women say is, why should I thank my husband for taking out the trash? It's his trash too. Why shouldn't he take it out? Say, well, do you think he takes it out and you don't have to? Mm-hmm. If you say thank you, he'll keep doing it. It's as easy as that. Men are very teachable. They explain this to me all the time. If we tell them something generally that would make us happy, they pay attention. And then when they do it, if we say thank you, they go, oh, wow, that really did make her happy. I'm doing that again. So remember the thank you. It is so important. If you want them to keep doing it, thank them. Yes, they need to list wishes. It's a perfect test. It's such an easy test. Now, we can't always get everything our way as much as we'd like to. So there might be times they'll say, well, I really can't do that. Like I like getting texts 3 times a day. Makes me happy. And there's times I've dated men that were so busy in their job. They're like, I could do a morning and a night. And I'll go, okay, I'm okay with that. He listened to what I wanted and told me what he could do. I was so fine with that. And he did every morning, every night, never missed it because he knew it made me happy. And I have to tell you, every morning, every night, I said, thank you. Every day for a year, as long as I dated that man. Every day, every time he said it, I'd say, oh, you made my day. Oh, you made me so happy. Oh, I feel so important. Oh, I feel about. I had this whole list of stuff I could use because it was twice a day, every day for a year. But he loved it. It made him keep doing it. We can't just ask once. We have to keep saying thank you. Yes, practice does make perfect of everything, right? Isn't that just how life is? The more that you practice, the better you get at it. And this is your heart, your precious heart. You ultimately get to fall in love again. Don't you want to do a good job at that? So practicing is really important. Super important. Can't stress that enough. And there's all these men to practice with. So funny. My female clients will say, oh, there's no men. And I'll tell my male clients that, and they go, we're everywhere. I go, I know. They're just not looking. They're not noticing. They're everywhere. Everywhere. Just talk to them if it's okay in your culture to talk. Oh, yes. It's better if you don't have chemistry initially. I didn't have chemistry with my husband. I did not for months. Months. I mean, that physical, whoa, not at all for months. The best guy I ever, which is why I married him, the best guy I ever dated, because I liked who he was as a person. I got to know him as a person because I wasn't having all that chemistry. Oh, so often women will say, oh, I didn't have that connect, I didn't have that chemistry, I didn't have that spark. I'm not going to go out with him again. But I go, what did you think of him? Oh, he seemed like a nice guy. Then go out with him again. He's a nice guy. Really? I mean, you still might not end up dating him for a long time, but don't have the chemistry be the deciding factor. It's different for men. They do. They have to be physically attracted to us. There's no way around it. But it doesn't mess with their minds. It messes with our minds when we have chemistry. If any of you have experienced that, you know, I'm not telling you a lie. This is the truth. Oh, thank you that you think this is a beautiful lesson. It's a lot to tell you all at once. So that's why I'm thinking you might need to write and go, what did you talk about with the list? And what did you say about what I'm supposed to put on my mirror? But I'm hoping that, this is going to go into some. Oh my gosh, I didn't bring my cord. I'll be right back. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just didn't even think about my cord. I moved from my office without my cord. My battery's going to run out and you're going to be gone. All right. Sorry. Beautiful lesson that we not to be missing. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope that you will watch it again, get some more information out of it, talk about it with each other. Yes, you are a prize, Beatrice. You are a prize. And don't let anybody ever tell you you're not. Oh, in capital letters, I'm a prize. Yes, you are. They have to earn us. They truly have to earn our affection, our love, our attention, our bodies, for sure. Yeah. And men like having to pursue us. They do. Good guys, they do. They like pursuing. They like having to jump over hurdles. They want to be appreciated when they do it. That's the whole thank you part. They don't, it's not as good if we're too easy. Really. You know how mom's always said that? Don't be too easy. It's the truth. Yes, a prize worthy of their affection. Yep. So don't give anything away. Don't give your emotions away, your body away easily. They have to earn it. Earn it. Really. They want to earn it. They'll use their time, energy, and money for something that they really want. So if you're the thing they really want, you need to make them earn you. So that's why you have to keep the chemistry at a real low, because then we're too easy. We're so easy when we have all that chemistry. It's just a problem. It's a problem for us poor women. So, do you have more questions? I mean, I'm so happy to do this another time. Go back over some of this. I have so much more I could tell you. There's just so much more. This feels like a lot, I know, but this is just the beginning. It's like you're building a house, you need a foundation, right? Before you build the walls and the windows, and certainly before you put all the accessories in. This is the foundation of dating successfully. You have to have this foundation. There's so many other pieces, as you're dating longer and you're getting to know each other, there's more things you can do and say, but this is the part that's going to get you started in the most healthy way that nobody teaches. I'm teaching it as fast as I can. Yep. I'm so glad. Keep writing that out that you're a prize and put it on your mirror. Put it as a screensaver on your phone. Put it everywhere so you never forget. Even when you're having your worst day and you think you look your worst, I want you to still see it on your mirror that says you're a prize. Because you are, even on your worst day. Really, you're still a prize. You're never not a prize. And don't let anybody tell you you're not. If they do, they're so not the right person. A little dry there. I am so excited to be talking to all of you. Thanks for offering me this chance to share my knowledge that I hope fits your circumstances and who you are and the way your lives are. Since I live in a whole different part of the world, I'm hoping that it's helpful and it applies. I hope it fits. Yeah. So Beatrice, is there something else you want me to talk about or anything else? Let me know. What do you think? I feel like I've overwhelmed you. A lot of, it's been an hour and a half. It's a lot of talking, even though I could talk for hours. So if there aren't any more questions, I am okay wrapping it up. And I'm fine answering more questions. What do you think? Where on earth can I find such a guy? Do your list. Do your list. I wouldn't have found my guy without my list. Truly. So I'll give you an analogy. You're going to make a new recipe, something you've never made before with ingredients you've never used. And you're going to go to the grocery store. If you go to the grocery store without a list, you're probably going to bring a lot of the stuff you brought home before. And in dating, it could be somebody that's unavailable, doesn't have money, who's mean, doesn't like kids. If you have a new list and you go to the grocery store, you might go down a different aisle that you've never gone on before. You have to read the packages because this is a product that you've never explored before. It's one of the main reasons I have people do this list. They're like, oh, it's so much work. Isn't your heart worth it? Make the list. That's when stuff shows up all the time. I tease one of the things now. You might think this is really irreverent, but I'll tell you anyway, because I believe God's a man. Didn't I tell you men want to know what we want? All we have to do is tell him what gets happy. Make out the list. Tell God, this is what I'm looking for. I've had some of my clients are very religious and they've done that and he showed up. God's like, oh, that's what you wanted. I didn't know that. You hadn't written it down yet. We just keep saying, send me the right guy. Well, God doesn't know what that means necessarily. Tell him what the right guy is. Really. and pay attention when he shows up. I told my husband that I wouldn't have noticed a room full of men. He had to write to me online. I would have passed him up. Isn't that sad to think? Because he wasn't my physical type. So first you have to write out the list, and then you have to pay attention when somebody shows up. And if God's going, pay attention, then pay attention. Yeah, you can. You can absolutely find him. He's out there. You only need one. They're like, oh, there's never enough men. How many do you need? Just one. Really? Just one. So make out your list. Do your list. Make time for that. That's one of the things you could do for yourself. Use a few days of your 5 minutes to work on your list. I hope that answered your question. It's never an easy answer, sorry, but the work is worth it. I'm here to tell you, I did it. I did this list. I've done it again because I want different. I didn't even know there were some things to have that my husband had. I was like, well, I'm adding those to my list. I did it again now that I'm back to dating. Yep. Make out the lists. What you have to have, what you can't have, who you are. In long sentences, paragraphs if you can. Write it out as if you were going to the grocery store to make a brand new recipe. Or you want to recreate the recipe you had before, write it down. You had all these wonderful things with your husband before, write down what they were. You want those again. Don't leave it to chance. This is too important. Write it down. Because how will you know if they have those traits if you don't have it written down and you haven't had a question to ask him? I wouldn't have known my husband had all these friends if I hadn't asked him. My husband, I was actually his third wife. He'd been married twice before and had a kid with each one of them. Oh my God, I asked lots of questions about that. But he had a good relationship with everybody. That was really important to me. And I never would have thought I would have gone out with somebody who'd been married twice. But he told me what happened to each relationship. And it turned out it was all very true, the stories he gave. And he had learned a lot. And he was an amazing husband for me, partly because of what he'd learned from his other 2 marriages. Doesn't that say a lot? Don't settle for just anyone that comes along. Exclamation point, underlined, bolded. Please don't settle. Never settle. Never, ever, ever. And generally, the only reason women settle is because they're too lonely or desperate. And I've told you how to fix that. Nurture these other fingers on your hand. Please nurture them. You will not settle for the wrong guy if you have nurtured the other areas of your life. Then this will just be a nice rest of filling in when you've had these other things that you filled in your life. Yeah. Yep. No settling. I don't want any of you to settle. I'm going to have words with you if you settle. Settling is not an option. You're so very welcome because you are a prize. Put it on your mirror so you don't forget. Get up in the morning, you have bedhead. Look in that sign that says you're still a prize, even with bedhead. Even when you have the flu, even when you've been up all night with a sick child, you're still a prize. And there's lots of times when we're all fixed up and we like, look at there, I am a prize. But on the days you need a little help feeling like a prize, have the sign. Make it pretty, write it in pretty colors, decorate it, because it's you are a prize. So you're so welcome. Knowing how you feel is needed. Mm-hmm. You will learn so much making out those lists. I did. Every time I've done the list, I've learned more about me, about what's important to me, that I have to have, that I can't have, and even reminds me more about the nice things about me. Yeah, widowhood is a club nobody wants to join. We don't like the dues, the entrance fee. The entrance fee is too high. To lose a spouse is heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. I've not experienced the loss of a child. I have friends who have, and that's the worst right there. But next worst is spouse. It is. It's horrible. You know, when I coach divorced people, often they're kind of mad at each other. My ex-husband and I ended up not being mad at each other at the end, but most of them are, and they're glad to get rid of them, and they really don't understand why we're still pining. You still love them? Oh, okay, I'll talk about that too. You still love them. You're still in love with them. It's okay. If you have more than one child, don't you love both of them or all of them? You can love more than one adult. And the new person has to understand that you still have a place in your heart for your deceased spouse. It is necessary for them to be okay with that. That you can still have pictures up, you can have an urn with their ashes, you can visit their grave, you can still talk about them. Now, there needs to be an expansion of your heart that you've now included a new person so that they have their own room. Your children, that you show them you love them equally, maybe differently, and certainly different new loves. But there's a process in Japan where if they break something precious like some porcelain, they melt gold to put it into the crack. So here in the US, when we repair something, we want it to not look like it was ever broken. It has to look all perfect again. But in Japan, they put this gold in the crack so you see where the break was. And it's very honoring to the crack that it's lived a life where it got some damage. And I think of our hearts that way, that we need to repair it with the gold, but there will always be that crack. There will always be an empty place where our spouse that's no longer here resides in our heart. And we can still love another person. And sometimes we have to get through guilt. We feel guilty about, gosh, can I really love two people? Mm-hmm. Yes, you can. And the other person, the really successful ones, often are another widowed person, but it doesn't have to be. They just have to say, I don't want you to take their pictures down. I want you to still talk about them. I want to feel like I have an important place in your life as well. But a really healthy new person in your life is going to never feel threatened. They get to look at your face. They can hold your hand. They can sleep next to you at night. Your spouse cannot. There's absolutely no reason to feel jealous. Now, what we have to do as widowed people is we really do have to go through a process, which is one of the things I would teach later to you, to heal your heart with the gold so that you can not come from a broken, damaged place, because then you are going to date the wrong kind of people. Yeah. Yes, you can date without marrying. Absolutely. You get to make the rules. You don't have to date. I mean, you don't have to marry at all. You could even date. So you figure out, what do you want? Do you want to just have a companion for dinner or the movies? Do you want to have more than one? Before I met my husband, I had a number of different men I was dating for a variety of reasons. It was nice to finally meet somebody that fulfilled a lot of the reasons, which is why I married him. But you might want to just date a few men, or you might find one man that you want to make a commitment to and have a long committed relationship with, but you don't want to get married. We have a term here in the US, it's called living apart together. And I have a neighbor who's engaged for 4 years and they have their own homes. I mean, they see each other every day, they sleep together every night, but they still have their own homes 4 miles apart. So they live apart together. There's such a variety of ways for people to date, to fall in love, to make commitments to each other, to have a relationship. Lots of different ways. So when you're clear about the recipe you want to make, then you pick out the ingredients you want, and then you look for somebody who has similar ingredients. It's not every arrangement works for every relationship. That's why you need to figure out what you would like. And that's why it's important to go out with a variety of people, because sometimes you don't even know what you want until you go out and you're like, oh, wow, I don't like that. So I'm going to make sure I add that to my do not want list. And oh, I do want that. I hadn't thought about that. So I'm going to put that on my want to have list. So you end up with a more full list the more men that you talk to. Isn't that amazing how that happens? So what do you think? Helpful? Good? You'll use them? Some of them? A few of them? One or two of my suggestions? It'll make such a difference in your dating life. Even if you just did one of these things, your life in general will feel different. So I found for me and for all the people I work with. So I didn't have lunch before I did this, so I'm getting hungry. I think I need to leave if there's no more questions. But please ask me back. I'd be happy to do this again. So Beatrice will put how you can get a hold of me. It's easier, I think, to have it written. So I think I'll say goodbye. I'm honored. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for listening to me. It's so important to know what you're doing when you're dating so that you could keep your heart safe. And if you want to find love again, that you have some instructions to do that. And that's my goal. And hopefully my words have been helpful today. So bye-bye from California. Be careful. You share your thoughts with, yes. Oh, all right. A question came up I'm going to address. Most men are deceitful. They're not. They're really not. And if you're meeting an abundance of deceitful men, you need to look at yourself. Isn't that a harsh thing to say? And I hate to leave on that note. But if you believe all men are deceitful, you're going to keep meeting deceitful men. Or maybe you just need to look in a different spot. Because they're not. They're not. I know there are cultures, I am aware, I'm not totally naive, where a lot of the men are bred and taught to not be honest. But seems to me there's a big list of you that were married. Were all your husbands deceitful? Were all of them bad guys? That's just tragic if that's so. So if you had a nice man that you were married to, now you know all men are not deceitful. So stop saying that. Stop it. I know that just sounds so trite and easy, but stop it. Don't say it ever again, not one more time. Do never use the word all when talking about men. See, I know a lot. I've talked to thousands of men. I say generally. I never say all. There's some horrible, psychopathic, narcissistic, terrible men. Some, sure. My experience, small percentage. Maybe you live where there's a large percentage. That doesn't mean they're all. You have the right attitude, truly the right attitude. You can ferret out the needle in the haystack, the one in the million. Really. When I was doing online dating and my friends would talk about these crappy men they were meeting on online dating, I'm like, wow, I'm glad they're all going out with them because I never met one, not one. They were nice men. They treated me nicely. I never had a horrible date. Hundreds of men I went out with. I never had a bad date. Never. Not once. Hundreds of men. And I think a lot of it had to do with my attitude. Now, men would show up and my instincts would say, no, no. And I'd go, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. All I had to do is listen to my instincts. So I never went out with anybody that was awful, ever. In hundreds of men. So maybe look at your attitude. Look at what you're saying to yourself. Look at where you're looking. Look at what you're asking for or unconsciously asking for. I'm hoping this doesn't feel harsh. I'm hoping it's feeling helpful. That's my intention when you ask this very heartfelt question, because it's horrible to keep meeting deceitful men. I do understand that. I've certainly had lots of clients that have kept meeting deceitful men, and they're not all. Please know they're not all. So adjust, do some adjusting somehow. Your thinking, your writing, your attitude, something is out of whack. It needs to be adjusted if all you're meeting is deceitful men. Okay. Yes, you do need help. I'm happy to help. Let's do this again. I really do have to go eat because I have a coaching call in half an hour. So I have to go eat lunch. Thank you so much. Lots of love from my little place in Southern California to all of you in your great big country. It's been a pleasure. Hope to hear from you again. Bye.